Good morning and welcome to JChats with Bender JCC CEO Josh Bender. Josh's guests today are Caroline Cardullo, Aquatics Director at the Bender JCC, Ian Handerhan, Head Coach and COO of the Capital Sea Devils, and Jorge Silva, Head Coach and Founder of the Hydrosonic Tiburones.
Good morning, Bender JCC community. Welcome back to JChats for another great conversation this morning. We're going to introduce our guests in a moment. Before we do, I just want to mention that one of the silver linings of the pandemic this year for the Bender JCC has been taking a look at partnerships and collaborations in the community and how we have been able to partner with a variety of organizations to both keep the Bender JCC functioning on a high level and serving the community, but also finding ways of partnering with other organizations through the pandemic and utilizing the Bender JCC facility for a variety of partnerships. So this morning, I'm going to actually start off by just reintroducing Caroline, our Aquatics Director. Caroline has been a guest on JChats before, is a critical player on the Bender JCC staff, and is here this morning to introduce our two guests because Caroline, in many ways, has cultivated the relationships that have led to the wonderful partnership this morning. So Caroline, introduce our special guests this morning.
Absolutely. What I'd like to say is just that just if people don't know, the Washington area is a hub for competitive swimming. And I am thrilled that we have one of the top teams in the area here at the JCC practicing at our pool. It's been amazing relationship and watching it grow and for me to watch these swimmers and how these two coaches handle this group of teenagers and kids as well. So I'm thrilled to death because these guys are great and been extremely wonderful to work with. I'd like to introduce Jorge Silva, who is the head coach of the Hydrosonic Tiburones, and Ian Handerhan, the head coach of the Capital Sea Devils. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Caroline.
Pleasure.
Morning, Ian and Jorge, and just to reiterate, Caroline, so thank you for your time this morning and for being joining us this year here at the Bender JCC. We're so happy you have made Bender JCC one of your home bases for your teams. I have a feeling we're going to learn quite a bit about competitive swimming today. I know that I am going to learn a lot from both of you. Before we jump into competitive swimming and more about your teams, tell us a little bit about each of you, how you got into sort of coaching and working with youth in competitive swimming. Jorge, why don't you start us off?
Thank you. So I grew up here in Montgomery County, and I swam on a summer league team in Gaithersburg, and then I swam for the YMCA that used to be in Montgomery Village, and to kind of help offset the cost of my club level experience, I started coaching at 13 to kind of help work with the youngest swimmers on the team, and that grew from there, and this kind of love for the sport of swimming, and especially working with young athletes and how you can help them kind of develop and grow and find their own passion for the sport. So it started as just as an ends to justify means, but it turned into a lifelong obsession, passion, and career.
That's amazing. And starting at age 13, so you've been doing it for a couple of years, I guess, huh?
Just a few.
Just a couple, yeah.
Don't let the mustache fool you.
That's right. Ian, tell us a little bit how you got your start.
Yeah, I think this will be the first of a couple times that I say something pretty similar to Jorge. I grew up in the area in Arlington, swam, played a lot of sports, but swam, throughout my childhood, things like that. I got started in coaching similarly, sort of as a teenager, as a sort of junior coach, helping out at my summer league team. I swam at Army Navy Country Club in Arlington. And then ended up coaching in the summers there as an actual assistant coach, not just sort of a teenage, volunteer that they threw some lesson money at. And graduated college, and it was something to do, make a little extra money. And I kind of loved it. I started doing it more and more, and it slowly went from a part-time position where I was full-time teaching and part-time coaching, and now I'm full-time coaching and part-time teaching. So, similar to Jorge, where it was, I don't know that it was ever the planned career path, but it was always kind of there pulling me in that direction.
Yeah, well, it sounds like similar stories that you both do share with each other. Give us, for anyone watching who's maybe learning a little bit more about competitive swimming, why don't we just everyone a sense of what is competitive swimming in this area, and give us just a sense of what's involved. How big is competitive swimming in the sort of DMV area, and just let's paint a little picture. Ian, why don't you jump in?
I'll start, I guess, just sort of generally. Caroline mentioned it. This area is a hotbed would be an understatement. Just some sort of the PVS, Potomac Valley, is the local swim committee that we swim within. It's the smallest by far of I think there's 40 some LSCs around the country. And it's about half the size of the next largest, but it's also the fourth largest in terms of number of members. So not only are we, there's a lot of swimmers in this area, but it's a very concentrated area of swimmers. And that breeds a lot of competition. And so it's also one of the fastest swimming areas and deepest swimming areas in the country. And I think competitive swimming can really mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It's pretty relative. And there's a lot of kids who swim and are competitive on their summer league teams. There's a lot of kids who swim and are competitive at the high school level. And then we have quite a few swimmers from this area who are national level, Olympic trials level. I think we have the PBS has the third most Olympic trials qualifiers at the moment for this summer. So I think competitive swimming can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And so I think both Jorge and I, probably similarly with our teams, provide for a lot of different competition levels. So anywhere from people who like to swim and like to race and are pretty good at it, to people who, kind of are swimmers and sometimes do other things. We have a couple of those kids too. So looking to swim Division I in college, or, swim at national level meets and things like that. So it runs the gamut.
That's amazing. I had not realized how big competitive swimming is in this area. I knew it was a good size, but that's really interesting to know. Jorge, you want to add anything?
Well, I think Ian covered a lot of it. As he said, I think club swimming would be a more appropriate terminology, because for a lot of the country, high school swimming is the biggest game in town. And in this area, that's not quite the case. So clubs like Sea Devils and Hydrosonic have grown and developed in this area to kind of help, swimming as a sport grow. So that's kind of I think the difference, because as Ian said, we have very strong in Montgomery County and in Northern Virginia, there's a very strong summer league presence. I think Montgomery County's MCSL is celebrating 56 years of being around. Northern Virginia has its own swim league, and then there's the country club leagues. So they all provide a competitive aspect, a fun competitive aspect. And then you have the high school level and then club level. So, there's certainly a lot of opportunities for every level of swimmer, and even adult. I mean, there's a master's league in the area that is pretty big.
Wow, excellent, excellent. I imagine each team has its own sort of personality, something unique about it. Give us a sense of, each of your teams and what sort of, how you would describe your teams, what sort of makes your team unique, what gives it its personality, and tell us also a little bit about the background, how long it's been around and how it was formed. Ian, jump in.
Yeah, so Capital Sea Devils, Jorge is the founder for his team. I can't say that I'm the founder for our team, as a team that was started in 1967 by Elizabeth Jane Stafford, a nonprofit teaching inner city kids how to swim in DC. So one of the first club teams in the District of Columbia, swimming out of a pool we still swim out of at St. Albans, the Lawrence Pool, that has, to be quite honest, hasn't changed a whole lot since 1967. So we've been around, continuously through then. We were Sea Devil Swimming for a little while and went back to our original name, the Capital Sea Devils, about 4 or 5 years ago, to kind of bring back the retro logo and go back to our roots. But we're definitely a team, like you said. A lot of teams have different personalities or different things that work for different people. We're a team that, as swimming, as competitive as it is, as we just kind of talked about, it's a sport that has quite a bit of burnout early. There's a lot of early specialization with swimmers. A lot of USA Swimming did a study that's about 5 or 6 years ago now of 10 and unders who were top 20 national kids. And by the time they checked back at 18, and not only were a lot of them not top 20 anymore, but 30% of them were no longer swimmers. So even kids with that level of success can burn out. And so Sea Devils definitely takes a much more conservative route than a lot of teams. We develop our swimmers, in a metered approach, kind of developing them along the way, making sure that their, love of the sport is developed along with their maturity levels and things like that. And, we still producing top flight talent and things like that, but with the intention of not having kids swim as a lifelong sport, continuing to swim in college, whether it's at the club level or just to stay in shape, or returning to the sport as adults, as master swimmers, like Jorge mentioned before. And a team that's been around, we have quite a few master swimmers that swam for us, 20, 30 years before. So it's kind of fun seeing those cycles. But that's definitely sort of our bent, and where we focus is trying to keep those kids swimming and making sure that they continue to compete, but at a high level without getting away from the sport. So.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. It's interesting to hear, and I imagine, is a really important factor in thinking about sort of that balance between the competitive nature of the sport, but also ensuring they continue to love it, lifelong, as you mentioned. Jorge, tell us about your team and sort of what's unique about the Tiburones.
Well, very much like we said at the beginning, that there's going to be a lot of similarities in our answers. We take a very similar approach to the Sea Devils in that we focus a lot on the development of our athletes through proper stroke technique, and then kind of tempering their desires to jump to the next level and to work at a higher level. So we try to build them up slowly so that we can have the longevity, and hope that our athletes will kind of see the best of their swimming ahead of them, whether it be at a collegiate level, which is what our top level swimmers kind of aspire to do, or at a national type level. So we take our time to kind of build the technical aspect of our athletes, very much the same way that Ian described. This is we're going into our 20th season. I started the club as with 25 kids in 2002, and I was working for another club program, and they decided that they were going to get rid of their competitive swim program. And I had been working with these kids, and I didn't want them to go anywhere else. So I said, I can do this. And I started with just those 25 kids, and we've kind of grown from there. I think some of the differences is it's a lot of geographically speaking. I mean, we started in northern Montgomery County, like Gaithersburg, Germantown area, and then we've expanded out a little bit into Rockville. But everybody kind of has their geographic hubs that they pull from, and that is one of the things that kind of allows for similar clubs to flourish in this area. And so we've, this is, been fun for us, and we really enjoy doing what we do. I love talking about how this is my outfit. I wear a t-shirt and shorts practically every single day. My commute is east-west, not north-south, so I get to avoid 270 kind of all the time. So and I get to work with kids, which is fun because, just having them realize their potential has been huge. And I think Ian would agree that aspect of our job is kind of the most fulfilling. With the exception of watching your own child excel at something, being able to contribute to someone else's child to, grow and excel is fantastic.
As I'm listening to both of you, I'm reminded of how much a coach, can make or break an experience for an athlete. And my own kids, I have a competitive tennis player and a child who plays competitive travel baseball, and the coaching is everything. Finding that right balance of helping them grow as an athlete, but also, looking at the full person of who they are, ensuring that they're continuing, to grow and love the sport. I was talking to one of your assistant coaches, and I can't remember walking through our facility one night when you were here, and someone shared with me that this year in particular, through the pandemic, your teams have really looked to their swim club, to their teams for more than just sort of the sport itself, but sort of a community unto itself during a year where a lot of these kids have been disconnected from each other. Tell me a little bit about through the pandemic, you guys, I guess, have pretty much been uninterrupted in terms of, I'm sure there's competitions haven't taken place, but your teams have been operating through the whole pandemic. Is that right?
Do you want me to go on?
Ian, why don't you jump? Okay, Jorge, jump right in. Sorry.
Go ahead, Jorge.
Yes, I think while we have certainly run into a lot of limitations, especially early on with the number of, when there wasn't enough information out there, everything got put on hold. But we were able to kind of quickly restart, and that has been a huge thing for these kids. As you mentioned, their mental health has been something that has been kind of on our minds this whole time because of the isolation that, through school. This is an opportunity for them to be with their friends and be with this group of kids that they come to call their family because they spend just so much time with them, that being able to be back with them is very important for them and important for us. I think those connections, we early on, we tried Zooming with our kids on a regular basis. And it was not, you'd have to fill your bathtub up, and try to coach a swim practice in a bathtub never works. But really, we couldn't have the same relationship with our athletes that we do when we have them in person. So I think it has been great for us. And I imagine it's similar for Ian and the Sea Devils, that those connections that the kids get to continue to have and grow, and a peer group. A lot of kids are going through a lot of stuff. And while they talk to us, they talk to each other a lot more. And that connection helps them get through to the next day and the next day. And, just the same way they do getting through a hard swim set.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. It's, we were definitely, like Jorge said, interrupted, I guess, kind of March, April, May. We were pretty much out of the water and not doing anything, like pretty much everybody around the country. And yeah, Zooming and trying to do dry lands. I think unfortunately a pretty on point stereotype of swimmers is they're in the water, because a lot of them don't tend to be too coordinated on land sometimes. So trying to do some dry land workouts with these guys sometimes was amusing, but could be kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, we tried to do things to keep them together. We did little book clubs, things like that, and it was time for them to spend together. But when we got back to the pool, we've been training outside through the year. We had a couple practices when we were at Merrimack in Bethesda earlier, and we had a couple practices that, I would have rather been in the pool. The pool was about 79, 80 degrees, and the deck was about 26, 27 degrees. So, and they showed up. And I think for a lot of them, even this fall, I have a lot of Montgomery County public school kids. A lot of the public schools were not in school. We had a lot of families who were very conservative and cautious through the pandemic. And I know there were a couple that the only time they left the house every day was to go to swim practice and back. And so that was, other than their parents, siblings, that was really the only, face-to-face contact that they were getting, the only social contact. And I think it's something we take for granted, that, that being at school every day and seeing people and being at work. And that was something that was sorely missing for a lot of teenagers and younger kids through the pandemic. And so it was great to be able to offer something where they could, yes, they were, but in a lot of ways, I think we were offering something that was quite a bit of a social outlet as well.
Makes total sense. And they're so fortunate to have had their swim team, as a support system through this year. Caroline, I wonder if I can ask you to share a little bit about how the relationship formed with the Sea Devils and Tiburones, and how you came to the Bender JCC. We're so delighted to have you here, and I love walking through the building evenings and seeing the sights and hearing the sounds of your teams in the building. Caroline, share a little bit about that.
And I know Jorge's been with the JC, 3 years or two?
2 years. 2 years.
Yeah, and I don't remember the connection. Somehow we connected with a phone call, or maybe a parent at one point way in advance reached out to me. I said, yeah, I'd love to talk to the coach, or the same thing with Ian's group. And so we connected somehow, and then it was like magic, because it was great for us to get some life back in our pool too, and to be able to also help these guys out. We do have an outdoor pool that's heated, and we do want people to utilize it year round. And I knew there was a need there. I know for Ian's program, I remember you mentioning you couldn't get into certain pools, you were looking for space, and I'm like, come on up, And I think we're your farthest northern program, or I'm not sure if you're beyond Rockville at this point or yet, but that was kind of neat to be able to have something out here to offer you guys, and you jumped right in. And the Tiburones had been there already, and it was great that you wanted to come back, and we just sort of established that. I mean, I never thought we'd have two teams, and now we have two, and the Tiburones was like, that's my team. It's like, oh, now we got the Sea Devils. I'm like, this is awesome. And and we had restrictions too, that you had to follow our rules and our ways of coming in with our COVID restrictions. You guys were awesome. Handling those teenagers coming in the building, getting those forms filled out ahead of time. It was amazing. And so I'm thrilled to have you here. It's an easy relationship to have. And we have this pool and both pools. And so it's been awesome that they're getting used. And it's also serving another, purpose, obviously, but the relationship just started that way. And I don't see it ending. I mean, it's just awesome. And it's not disrupting the members in any way. In fact, they're like, wow, who are those kids? They're amazing. I go, well, you should see the coaches who have to oversee the kids. They are even more amazing. So it's a very easy thing, a relationship to have with you guys. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. We've had some members ask about the teams who are, here at the Bender JCC. If there are folks watching who want to learn more about what you guys do, what would be the next steps for them? Jorge.
Go ahead, Jorge.
Okay. Well, we do have an online presence. It is swim, SWIM, tibu.com. We also, via email or a phone call at our office to go through kind of what we offer. Most of our information is on our website, as that is the way that everybody does business now. But we have, time to talk and certainly respond to emails. But that would be the next step to, if anybody was interested in reaching out to us to see, if what we have fits with what they are looking for.
Excellent.
Yeah. Similarly for us, you can find us at www.seadevils.org. Online. And like Caroline mentioned, we had bounced around quite a bit before we found the JCC. So we actually normally train out of about 5 sites across DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So we're in Springfield, Virginia, at Wilson and St. Albans in DC, and Holton Arms in Maryland. 3 of those, which we have not been in this year. So we're hopeful to get back in the fall. But finding JCC was really great. And we'll be opening up our registration for the fall come the end of May. And, we definitely plan on and hope to have a new site on there next to JCC that people can sign up for. So, register. And like Jorge said, we always have a little bit of time to answer some emails for new and interested swimmers and things like that when we're not on deck, which is most of the time.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, listen, we're coming up on the end of our time together. I just want to thank both of you for spending this time with us, giving us a chance to get to know your teams a little bit better. We've been talking with Ian Handerhan, the head coach and chief operating officer of Capital Sea Devils, and Jorge Silva, the head coach of the Hydrosonic Tiburones. Both teams have made the Bender JCC one of their home bases this year, and we look forward to a continued relationship and partnership with both of you. And Caroline, thanks for joining the conversation as well today.
All right.
Best of luck, and we look forward to seeing your swimmers in the building really soon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again to the Bender JCC community for being so great to us. I mean, it's been a huge help for us, not just through the pandemic, but even before that, as Caroline mentioned, we were looking at it the once a week that we rented last year as a novelty practice for our kids to swim, to say that they had bragging rights that they were swimming outside in December. And it turned into a full year of swimming outside. And now their bragging rights are, the only other team that can compare is the Sea Devils.
Well, we're delighted to have both of you.
Yes, thank you very much to both of you. And I look forward to seeing more of you guys year over year. So,
absolutely. All the best. Thanks again for your time. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.